I want to begin tonight by quoting the speech of a president whom I very greatly admire, Harry Truman, who once said to the Congress, "The United States has become great because we as a people have been able to work together for great objectives, even while differing about details." He continued, "The elements of our strength are many. They include our democratic government, our great natural resources, but the basic source of our strength is spiritual. We believe in the dignity of man." That's how Democratic presidents and Democratic presidential candidates used to talk about America. These were the men who developed NATO, who devised the Marshall Plan, who developed the Alliance for Progress. They were not afraid to speak of America as a great nation, nor did they apologize for America being a great nation. They didn't imagine that the United States would somehow depend on its very survival on the promises of its adversaries. They happily assumed the responsibilities of freedom.
Yep, here we go. We should just hit record like immediately when we
As
hop
soon
on.
as we get in, absolutely.
Yeah, that's on us. That's on us. Because I'm going to say the joke again, but it's not going to be
Well,
natural.
Mark came with his work clothes to my house, and they
Yes.
were.
And to which I responded, were they cut off jean shorts and a T-shirt that says "Insert dick here" with an arrow pointing to your mouth, and then on the back of the T-shirt there's an arrow pointing down to your asshole.
You never talked dirty like that when we were married, Scott.
You've said that joke before, and I've responded to it, but I don't think I can one up my responses from before. So I don't know what to do. I'm lost on that one.
Welcome to Evening Drinks, everybody. Reckoning Brothers, we mock hypocrisy, we insult petty tyrants. I'm drinking some 12-year-old scotch. Josh is a liar and a thief, which is why he put out a fake news report last. I put that much club soda and this much whiskey in my heavily iced glasses, and that's not true. It's the opposite of that, which is why I order my drinks when I'm out. Such and such on the rocks with a splash of club soda, please.
You're a liar.
I asked for video evidence because I honestly don't know who to believe. I don't know who to believe here. I could see either one of you telling the truth.
I'll capture it when he's not paying attention.
Okay,
I cover up the truth. I cover up the truth with these coffee filters.
It's 1 part scotch, 5 parts soda water.
It's he's literally making that up.
Can you promise not to do a deep fake? Because I don't want anyone screaming deep fake. Promise not to do a deep fake. I'll be really mad if it's a deep fake video. Make sure that it's real.
Promise.
I don't have the technology to see whether it is or not. But yeah, man. Mark, you had a very interesting thing to talk about today. And props to you.
Well, you wanted to do something. It was your suggestion to talk about something happy, and I thought to myself, the word happy just kind of its way across my superior annihilated intellect, and it said to Sparky, what were the best times of your life? And of course, anybody my age, I'm so old, I'm so old that peeping toms boo me, right? So I hearken back to and you guys are
earlier. I didn't really get it either.
I don't think I got the joke. I'm sorry. What? Say the joke again. I might just be mean.
I'm so old that peeping toms boo me. Boo, boo. Do you know what a peeping tom is?
I know what a peeping tom is. I don't understand the joke. So why are they booing you? Are you so you're taking your clothes off and they're watching you through the window, and because you're so old, they're just upset, so they boo you? Is that what you're saying? So I still don't understand that joke.
Here it is. You're not old. You're just chronically gifted. You're not aging. You're just leveling up in dust accumulation. At your age, your back goes out more than you do. You're so old, a birth certificate is written in Latin. You're not old. You're vintage, like a rotary phone nobody asked for. Okay, go ahead.
The joke went like this.
Yeah, it
Scott.
did. It did.
Yeah.
I don't understand the peeping toms looking at you, and you're so old they're upset because you're taking your clothes off, and they're looking through the window, and they just look at you and they're like, "Gross, boo."
Boo, like boo hiss, like boo hiss, like, like an audience would boo.
Okay, I get it. All right, it wasn't a bad joke. I just didn't.
Duh,
I
Ashley.
didn't get it.
What is on your fucking shirt? Those fucking roosters again?
Yeah, this is the Roosters again, dude.
Cock shirt.
Those are cocks.
It's
I love it,
literally
yeah.
your cock shirt.
I interrupted though. You said I asked for a happy subject. You've got the superior intellect. You thought about your childhood.
Yeah, college, adolescence, etc. Parents going away for the weekend meant you were going to have sex. It was a good time, and there's a lot of memes and a lot of lists that you see on social media from from people my age. I don't do it. I don't get on Facebook and remember when blah 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 blah. But it, and I read a couple of things that to remind me of what those were. But and people, the younger generations, like the young millennials. I'm like as old of a Gen X as you can get. The end of the baby boomers, I'm like right there, And
Aren't you a boomer?
technically, yes.
What is the age?
I don't think you've ever skateboarded, so you can't be Gen X.
But he's surfboarded.
I was skateboarding.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Skateboarding on a piece of wood with two wheels like nailed through it in Hawaii, long before you guys were born.
That's pretty
Right.
sick, man.
Yeah.
Was that back in the 30s? Okay. Keep
Yes,
going.
Josh. It was back in the 30s.
You don't go on Facebook. You know, it's
I don't go on Facebook. Remember when? But when we used to stay out till the street lights came on and drink from a hose and all those things that we did. The boomers that are my age and the Gen Xers, I think are a very resilient demographic because we had to adjust through so many things. The Vietnam War, deep recessions, assassinations of major political figures, the Cold War, duck and cover. I know people are like, about the school shooting drills that they have to do. We used to have to do drills because we thought the Soviets had hard target intercontinental ballistic missiles on a hair trigger. So we were doing drills to like hide under our desks from ostensibly to keep from being vaporized by nuclear weapons.
I have a question about that because it's kind of a joke now looking back at like those videos that they played for kids, like the duck and cover videos. At the time, did you all think this is bullshit? A nuclear bomb's going to kill us whether we're under our desks or not? Or did you think it might do something?
I have a question before you answer that. Scott, you never did that?
Duck and cover for a nuclear drill? No.
I
No,
did.
we did. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I don't know where the hell you went to.
Duck.
Yeah,
and
you're like
cover.
a year older than me. I've never ever done a duck and cover for a nuclear attack. That just seems so weird to me. We did stop,
Right,
drop, and
okay.
roll. That's it.
Mark, answer the question though. Did you feel safe?
I'm sure that we literally thought that we could be vaporized by incoming intercontinental ballistic missiles. Yeah.
You didn't really feel any safety in that.
We knew that ducking under the desk was not going to help. If we were anywhere near the blast, we knew that, and we also knew that we would die from radiation, even if we survived the blast. So like, I think probably by the time I was 11 or 12, I was like, well, I hope the blast kills me because I don't want to get radiation poisoning and die one of the most slowest, most horrific deaths you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, Yeah,
But,
I want to go to Fireball.
yet we remained carefree, and it was a simpler time. It was a much simpler time before the internet. Everybody, and we've all seen the videos. Everybody got along, and you're gonna have to edit that. I lost my train of thought.
I'm not editing it. No,
Keep it going.
keeping that in. No, you just sit there in your shame. Right?
The booze is starting to kick in.
There's Josh and I are about the same age.
Yeah.
We are kind of the last kids to grow up before the internet. Not the last to grow up before social media and the takeover, which is another really huge step in what makes kids the way they are today. But I think there's more in common with our childhood and growing up in 1880 than there is our childhood and a kid growing up today, just because of all the social media and everything that the internet led to. But it's really social media. It's not so much old school internet, MySpace pages and stuff like that. They didn't really have the grip, where socially you can't escape school. That's the one thing I always thought would suck so bad if I was a kid now versus a kid when I grew up. 'Cause I was picked on mercilessly, which I know is hard to believe that I was picked on as a kid.
Is it because you're
This guy's
Jewish?
so cool. It was it was because I acted like a kid that should be picked on, and I was rightfully picked on. That's why I was picked on. But you can escape it. School's over, you go home, you can escape it. Now, kids go home, the internet's following them, social media's following them. It's so a part of all these kids' life. Unless they actively rebel against it, which Josh, you talked about your kids doing.
No,
which I
not
think is
social
great.
media. Not social media, more AI.
Just AI. So they're still on social media. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So they don't see it all as one conglomeration. That's interesting. But I hate for those kids that they can't escape that social pressure. I hate it. I think it's so unfair and it's so cruel and it's so difficult socially that we never even had to think of experiencing anything like that.
Yeah.
The other part to that is they rely heavily upon that for interaction and can be it's a crutch for social interaction. They don't need to go outside. They don't need to go hang out with their friends because they got them right here all the time.
Well, and then also, I think even if you're going to school and you're hanging out with your friends there, if you're not participating in the online exchange, you'd be missing out. You wouldn't be able to participate in the conversation in person because you wouldn't know what was going on the internet, the social media side. Right. So it's kind of one and the same. There's no real escape, or you're just ostracized and you're like the weird Amish kid or something like that, basically at that point.
Yeah, that's a really smart point. And you know, I'm sure there are a lot of kids that, you know, are somewhere in between where they're not completely consumed with the social media and AI and living the online world, that have no friends, and kids that, you know, that obviously are not socially awkward and have a lot of friends, and, you know, because they're plugged into the 21st century and everything that goes with it, social media, etc., are able to participate in, you know, the current conversations. But yeah, that's a very smart point. I oftentimes find myself saying, I hate the 21st century for things that I see in it that are just very, very depressing. When I was in 8th and 9th, 10th grade, and you guys too, we could name dozens, at least a dozen, if not more, authors, right? But because of the screens and because of the education system, now, you know, with the school laptop, I know parents that have their kids have school laptops, and there's not a single book downloaded on the laptop. Everything on the laptop is learning units. Yeah,
created by
Huh?
What's a
It's accurate.
what's a learning like what's a learning
A
unit?
learning unit is something prepared by a teacher that covers a given subject.
It's
And
sectional.
it's
Okay.
sectional instead of
So-
chapter. Instead of it's they've taken the place of chapters in a book.
It's a
Yeah.
it'd be like a digital like syllabus with details written
It's
down
a
about everything.
digital crib notes,
Okay. Cool.
and they're written for high schoolers, for junior high. Well, I guess you got to call it middle school now. For middle school and high schoolers, like one of my friends at work, like it's literally written the learning units are written for what it for like a second grader from our generation. Like,
Do you think
I disagree with
Nathaniel
that.
Greene was a general in the Revolutionary Army. He served with George Washington. Jack and Jill went up the hill. Dick and Jane had fun at the lake. It's written like that. It's written for fucking idiots. I was shocked.
Mark, you've often talked about how giving more money and control to the Department of Education will fix these problems. When you do that, what would you suggest they do with this technology to actually help kids
Well,
learn?
the least they should do is download books on it and make kids read books. And I know, look, I didn't turn out all that great. I'm not saying that you're going to turn out better or you're going to be like me, or because I'm not a millionaire. I don't own a multi-million-dollar business. I don't have $2 million in the bank, even though I'm close to retirement age, etc. I made a lot of bad decisions in my life. So I'm not saying you have to do this to be like me. I'm saying that it's axiomatically true that people perform better in life when they're literate. And if you can't read a classical book and do a review of it and write a review of a classical book, you're going to have things are going to be really difficult for you. I read something the other day that blew my mind. There's a school in Chicago that they haven't shut down. It has like 97 students or 18 students. It has this ridiculously low number of students, and they won't shut down the school. So the Chicago school district spends $97,000 per student at this school. Not a single one of them can read a grade level. Not a single one
Per student?
per student, because it's a school. Yeah, because it has so few students. So and then of course the graph expanded out, and like the average cost per student at Chicago public schools is like $36,000, and this list that somebody put, and the list somebody replied to the Chicago teachers union, with this data, and it was mind-boggling. Like, there's not a single school on there where any kid in high school can read. Not a single school where the kids read at grade level. And so I just can't imagine, being able to go for job interviews and function in society if you can't read a book by the time you're 16. By the time you're 13, and do a review about it.
Can I offer a glimmer of hope?
Please.
Have you heard of Alpha School?
Is that where the alpha males go?
No, it sounds like some Andrew Tate fucking HJ Tiki Talkie or HS Tiki Talkie. I wish the name was HJ Tiki Talkie. That'd be way better kind of thing. But no. I was listening to an interview of the two founders, runners, whatever it is. So this is a private school that leans into AI, but their philosophy is we're going to do it right with AI, with small teacher groups. It's a very looking forward intelligently way of teaching
Yes.
kids.
Yeah.
It's about using AI to make individualized lesson plans,
Yes.
small class sizes, teachers that they the rigorous process for getting a teacher hired there. I was listening to it. It's unbelievable how much they go through to get a teacher there. Now, granted, this is just one, but like most things in technology and business, it starts out expensive and localized, and then if it succeeds in the marketplace, they're able to drop costs, and we all benefit. So, hopefully, people will watch Alpha School. If what they were saying was true about their students, their happiness, they did polls of their students, right, to see if they would rather have time off of school or be in school. And it was dramatically in favor of being in school when they were like their kids when this is taking their word for it, right? But I was convinced at the time their kids would rather be in school than not. And they are testing way above average
Way above.
and incredibly smart
And
because these people care and are doing things intelligently. That's all it takes.
I'd forgotten that that's what they called it, but I read one or two pieces about exactly what you're talking about, and the success with it is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's like a charter school that's really successful times two.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really hope fucking government, man. Why does it always come back to government sucks?
It
Government
really
sucks.
does.
They're in the way of keeping kids from really utilizing this to become amazing humans because they're stuck in the rut of bureaucracy. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. You're absolutely right. And and this segment was supposed to be, about happy stuff, and that's a really good
It's
note.
never gonna happen.
Well, it is. I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to go back to the happy stuff. Things that people, like the climate alarmists, the war alarmists, the online, the people that are in Cuba right now. Oh my God, the fucking LARPers, the revolutionary LARPers that are in Cuba right now, that used up all the electricity on the grid in Havana for their luxury hotel and their stupid
Are you
kneecap
talking about
raid.
the DSA visit or is there
Oh my
something
fucking
else?
God, with Hassan Piker and
Yeah,
all these,
okay, yeah.
yeah, it's oh my fucking God. So they're lying about a lot of stuff. Like they're not being honest with anybody about how they're being led around by people that work for the dictatorship. But the images are just like, so one would think that that nobody would be stupid enough to fall for it. Like they look like people at Lion Country Safari in their little bus, like looking at all the poor people while they were wearing their $650 shirts and like going on this little tour of Havana, and then they'll have their little rave and their little kneecap concert with all the lights on and all the power going, and then they all talk, then they all like live
That
stream.
they're taking away from poor people that live in Cuba that have nothing. They're taking this
Correct.
away so they can
And they're
have a
blaming it
party.
all on
It's
the
embarrassing.
blockade. There is no blockade. Yes, we have an embargo. Yes, we don't trade with Cuba. That's true. And we haven't traded with Cuba for a very long time. And
Every other country does, though.
Cuba trades with 100 other countries.
Yeah.
And the whole point is
Fuck
like,
me.
well, if the embargo wasn't happening, we had an embargo all these years, and that's it's not that socialism doesn't work. It's we've had this embargo for so long. Cuba trades with 100 other countries. If for socialism to work, Cuba has to trade with the bad United States for socialism to work. Their logic is just it's so fucking idiotic. It's literally hilarious, and like a bunch of them are lying about all this stuff. Like it's all Jussie Smollett like bullshit. Like one guy, showed a hospital with like 12 lights on, and this is after they did their rave, and they're in their hotel with all the lights on, right? And everything's black around there, like they're venturing out, down the street a little bit. Sure, look, everything's dark, everything's black, right? And fortunately, because of the internet and because, and I just hacked on the internet and modded it, and some of the, modern things we have now. But fortunately, people had like videoed all the lights on and all the power on in this hotel, right? And it's so bizarre. So this one guy goes, everybody on a ventilator. My friend at this hospital told me everybody on ventilators at this hospital died last night. Not the dumbest people in the world believe it, but other than the dumbest people in the world, nobody believes it. It's just they're literally they're useful idiots doing propaganda in service to the dictatorship, and it's simultaneously hilarious and pathetic. They flew down there first class in their $650 shirts to lecture to people who hate the people of Cuba actually hate communism. They hate living under it, right? To lecture them.
I'd hate it too.
Yeah. So
this shirt didn't even cost $650. Josh, you often have supported communism. After Mark said what he said, what do you have to say about that?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I don't have much to say because Mark's been rambling for a good 30 minutes, and I lost track. I glazed over.
I see there are,
Sorry,
things that Mark is one of the people that really taught me to hate communism 23 years ago. Like I was at the cusp of oh, this is pretty fucked up, and then Mark's like, no, here's why you hate it. Here's why it's the most retarded thing that humankind has ever come up with. And so I definitely feel those rants, but
and then you read a book.
Yeah, then I read it. Well, then I read a book that wasn't written by Howard Zinn.
I mean, the funniest thing about the Code Pink tankies down in Cuba right now is, the LARPing as revolutionaries and, looking at the poor people from their little air-conditioned bus on their little poor people safari, right? And, and blaming the United States for... Cuba has had power outages for decades and decades. Yes, there's an embargo on Venezuelan oil going to Cuba. Why is that? Because Venezuelan oil was sanctioned. Venezuela was literally giving... Cuba can't survive. No country can survive without oil, but Cuba doesn't have any hard currency to buy it with. Like, they had to get charitable oil from Venezuela to keep the fucking lights on because they don't have any fucking money, because they don't have an economy. Look, it's an island with gorgeous beaches and sugarcane, and it's poor.
I just want to steal a point from Michael Moynihan, my favorite journalist. He was commenting about Hassan Piker and all of these people. His point was, you're sitting there in your mansions, you're living your life in Los Angeles, and you're telling someone in Cuba they don't get to have that. They have to live in shitty communism. They have to live that way. I'm going to stay here and live in my mansion, and I'm going to order fucking Uber Eats every day. You have to live poor because of my fucking feelings and my identity. It's gross. It's evil. Fuck these people.
Especially when
I wish I had thought of that, but
no, and especially when everything is at your fingertips. Like, you have all the world's knowledge at your fingertips in your little magic box. We all have it, and like, you obviously have to be able to people have. Yesterday, somebody put up a picture of some avocados. It's a rage account from Africa. And they put up a picture of avocados, and they titled it with immigration crackdown. Immigration crackdown breaks farmer in, Santa Barbara, whatever it was, right? It's a story from 8 years ago. So I literally typed in the words, right, and found the article. It's from 8 years ago, right? And
is that your paywall hack?
No, it wasn't my paywall. No. But so the funniest thing about it was so many people believed it and retweeted it. It got like 11,000 retweets or more because they believed that this rage bait
bot account in Africa is putting out real information, right?
Could be bot
and
retweets.
not only did I look up the story from 8 years ago, which, the exact words from that headline were the words that this person put up, but I read the piece, and it was about a farmer. I forget his name. And so I looked up that farmer, and I looked up what he produced this year, and I looked up what the avocado producers in California are producing this year. And turns out that this farmer is doing great. Like, he's doing fantastic. And people
The internet
are,
is full of lies.
yeah,
The internet's
just,
full of liars.
and you
You
can
know,
you can use the magic box to fact check everything, and people just believe whatever they see.
We 30 minutes. We haven't talked about anything happy. I don't know why Israel did this to us. Josh, what do you want to say?
I got a hard stop.
You got a hard stop?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
You guys can keep going if you want, but I have an 8, and the food's here.
I've got
Okay, cool.
I got some happy stuff.
All right. Well, Josh, we'll let you go and we'll talk about happy stuff, and we won't talk anything shit
I
about
talk
you at
about
all.
happy stuff. Come on.
Well, go. You talk about happy stuff or you eat your food. These are the choices that God gives you in life, and you.
Give me some happy stuff. Let's go.
All right.
Bring
Go,
it,
Mark.
Bring it on.
Go, Mark.
Since the passage of the Clean Air Act in 1970, air pollution has decreased by 77%.
That's not
yeah.
happy stuff.
Yes, it
That's
is.
amazing, dude. That means that your son is going to get to grow up breathing cleaner air than Mark, and so hopefully, Mark said he's not happy with the way he turned out, so turn out better because of
In the
clean air.
1940s and 50s, cities like Pittsburgh and New York faced smog so severe that literally tens of thousands of people died from it. Now, is that true worldwide? No. 2 million people a year die in China from air pollution, right? But not here.
God bless the catalytic converter.
We have the cleanest
Have you ever had
drinking
to
water.
work on one of those?
We have the cleanest drinking water and the cleanest air we've ever had.
Amazing.
Since the Clean Water Act of 1972,
Real quick, though, Mark is supporting government regulations. Mark that down. Mark is supporting government regulations. Smart government regulation, which does exist sometimes, but feel free to point this back out to him later, Josh.
no, I mean, we do have an Environmental Protection Agency, and I'm glad we have one. And we do have clean water and air regulations, and I'm glad we have those. And those have created people aren't old enough to remember smog. If you're not old enough to remember smog, and yes, there are some municipalities that have completely neglected their municipal water systems that have tap water that isn't healthy or that's below standard. But by and large, we live in a world where communicable diseases, water, air, etc., are all in much better shape than they were 50 years ago. It's not. There's literally no comparison between the air and water that we breathe and drink now.
Think how much worse off we'd be if we didn't have regulations against lead and gasoline and paint. Look at what lead does, especially to children. It's awful. It's evil.
It's funny because it's funny that you mentioned that, because the other day somebody said, they mentioned lead, and they said, and they were making a swipe at my generation, our generation, by saying, well, you guys are dumb because you were exposed to so much lead. And the irony of that is that most of the lead poisoning that affected people's brain development happened in municipalities, which are not run which are not run by people that any of us vote for, right? It's not run by progressives, right? So it was. I thought that it was. And of course, I got no reply from them because they're convinced in their own in the little bubble that they live in that people that from our generation are dumb. They're smart, and we're dumb because because of lead, because of our exposure to lead. Most people from the 70s and the 80s were not exposed to lead. Only the people in big cities were exposed to it, and it was all because of leaded gas. It was all because of smog created by the internal combustion engine that was burning lead gasoline.
Okay, I'm gonna drop.
So happy news. All right. Want to call it there? That was pretty good. That was happy. I feel better.
Give me a happy memory from your high school days.
I'm gonna drop now. I'm sorry. Guys.
Later, Josh. All right. Happy memory from high school. You know what? I was on my high school radio station. I was a DJ on my high school radio station. I really enjoyed that. That's how much of a nerd I am. I have a lot of fond memories of it. It was fun.
That's why you're so good at what we do here.
Oh, you're so good at what we do here, man. I'm just trying to back you up. What's a fine memory of your? Well, I know all about your goddamn memories because we spent episodes, but not high school. We talked about you from like 19 on. So high school memory. I don't think I'd know. Go.
My two best friends gave me 3 hits of 4-way microdot acid and told me that it would take. And I was like, like the last kid to try acid. I didn't want to try it. Like I had barely started smoking weed, and we're talking about weed back then that we thought was really good weed. Probably is 1/3 of the potency of the weed.
Dude, you smoke an eighth back then of what you had, and it's equivalent to half a hit right now.
Right?
It's crazy.
Now, I'm sure some of the Acapulco Gold and Colombian Red Bud we had back then was, pretty potent and pretty good. But, by and large, like a lot of the weed we smoked was like fucking Mexican dirt weed.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Right.
It was that way for us in high school.
But
too.
I was the late comer to acid, and they were like, just take these 3. It's only 3. And 3 hits of 4-way yellow microdot is the equivalent of 12 hits of acid. And they swore to fucking God that it wasn't going to kick in for about an hour and a half. It started kicking in like a half an hour and 45 minutes. And they knew what it was. They knew exactly what was going to happen. They knew that I was going to freak out. And I did. And I was running through the hallways of the high school looking for them. They were in different classes because I took them in homeroom. Then I went and got them both out of class.
At school? Jesus Christ, dude.
I took them in homeroom, and then in first period, I went and found them, and we just left the high school. And they put me in the back of a panel van with no seats, with no interior whatsoever, just the back of a panel van. And my best friend drove like a maniac for about 2 hours with me going back and forth, bouncing off the interior walls of this van, and my other best friend sitting in a captain's seat in the passenger seat, which was a big old a captain's seat like in a conversion van, just laughing his fucking ass off as I got my ass beat in the back of this van.
That was your happy memory?
Well, and I tripped my balls off for I couldn't go home. I had to stay at Dave's house, and he had done enough acid that he could control himself. He could act normally in front of his parents, right?
That's impressive.
And they wouldn't be able to, they couldn't tell. They were really heavy church people, kind of naive about drugs, and Dave would go like this, he would go like that while I'm sitting next to him, right? And his parents wouldn't notice it, and I would, and I'd bust out laughing, and they thought, what's wrong with Mark?
And everybody thinks that still to this day.
Everybody thinks that to this day.